You finish the work nobody wanted to do. You stay late when everyone else logs off. You answer the message at 9:30 at night. You take the extra task because you don't want to be the person who says no. And then, months later, someone else gets the promotion. Someone who seems less dedicated, less available, maybe even less talented. And you're left wondering, how am I working this hard and still getting overlooked? The uncomfortable answer is that your workplace may not be rewarding effort in the way you think it is. Because being hardworking and being visible are two completely different things. And once you understand the difference, a lot of frustrating moments at work start to make sense. Think about the employee who always says yes. A coworker needs help? They say yes. A deadline is approaching? They stay late. A manager needs someone to fix a mistake? They volunteer. Eventually, everyone knows they can be counted on. That sounds like a good thing, and it is. But there's a hidden problem. When you're constantly reliable, your reliability can become invisible. Your boss stops thinking, wow, they're doing an incredible amount of work. Instead, the thought slowly becomes, that's just what they do. And that distinction matters because people don't always notice what happens consistently. They notice what changes. They notice the person who suddenly takes ownership of a major project. They notice the person who presents an idea in a meeting. They notice the person who solves a problem everyone else was avoiding. They notice outcomes that are easy to see. Meanwhile, the person quietly completing 20 small tasks may be working twice as hard, but creating much less visible evidence of that effort. And this is where hardworking people can accidentally trap themselves. They start believing, if I just work harder, eventually someone will notice. So they work harder. And when nobody notices, they work even harder. But there's a point where additional effort stops increasing your visibility. You're simply becoming better at doing more work that nobody sees. And there's another problem hiding underneath that. The more dependable you become, the more work people may naturally send your way. Not necessarily because they're trying to take advantage of you. Sometimes it's simply because you've demonstrated that you can handle it. You're the safe choice, the reliable choice, the person who will probably get it done. So every time you quietly rescue a project, absorb another responsibility, or fix something without telling anyone, you may be solving the immediate problem while accidentally hiding the amount of value you created. Nobody sees the fire because you already put it out. That's the paradox. Your competence can make your contribution look effortless. And effortless work is often mistaken for easy work. But here's where this gets even more interesting. Hardworking people often focus on being useful. High visibility people focus on being useful in ways that connect to important outcomes. Those sound similar. They're not. Imagine two employees. Employee A completes 50 small tasks every week. Employee B completes 20 tasks, but spends more time solving a recurring problem that wastes hours for the entire team. Employee A may be working harder, but employee B may be creating more noticeable impact. And when promotion conversations happen, people rarely sit down and calculate every ounce of effort you've contributed. They remember the problems you solved, the projects you influenced, the moments when you made something better, faster, easier, or more successful. That's why effort alone can be a weak signal. Impact is easier to recognize. And this doesn't mean you should stop working hard. It means your hard work needs a direction. Because there's a huge difference between saying, I did a lot, and saying, I solved this, I improved this, I prevented this problem, I helped the team accomplish this. The second version gives your work a story, and stories are easier to remember than invisible effort. But there's still one more trap. Hardworking people sometimes become so focused on proving themselves that they avoid asking for anything. They think asking for recognition feels arrogant. Talking about achievements feels like bragging. Negotiating feels uncomfortable. And telling their manager, I'd like to take on more responsibility, feels like they're demanding something they haven't earned yet. So they wait. They wait for someone to notice. They wait for the promotion. They wait for the raise. They wait for somebody to finally say, you've been doing an incredible job. Sometimes that moment comes. Sometimes it doesn't. Because your manager may be busy managing budgets, deadlines, customers, meetings, and their own priorities. They may genuinely appreciate your work without understanding what you want next. And that's a painful lesson. Being valuable doesn't automatically make your goals visible. You have to communicate them. Not by bragging, not by constantly reminding everyone how hard you work, but by making your contribution easier to understand. Instead of saying, "I've been working really hard lately," try something more concrete. "I took ownership of this problem, reduced the number of issues we were dealing with, and I'd like to take on a larger role in this area." Now, you're not asking someone to admire your effort. You're showing them the value of your work and where you want to go next. And this changes something psychologically. You're no longer waiting for recognition to happen to you. You're participating in the process. But there's an even deeper lesson here. Sometimes being overlooked isn't a sign that you're not good enough. It can be a sign that you've built a reputation around being the person who quietly handles everything. And if you want your career to change, you may have to change what people associate with you. Not just, they work hard, but they solve important problems. They take ownership. They communicate clearly. They make things better. They're ready for more responsibility. That's a completely different professional identity, and it doesn't require becoming the loudest person in the room. You don't need to dominate every meeting. You don't need to turn into someone you're not. You don't need to stop being dependable. You simply need to make the value of your dependability visible. So the next time you finish a difficult project, don't immediately move on to the next task. Pause. Ask yourself, what actually changed because I did this? What problem disappeared? What became easier? Who benefited? And what part of that contribution should my manager know about? Because if your work creates value but leaves no visible trail of that value, you are making it harder for other people to recognize what you're capable of. And maybe that's the biggest mistake hardworking people make. They think the goal is to become indispensable. But sometimes becoming indispensable in the wrong way simply means everyone knows they can give you more work. The better goal is to become valuable, visible, and difficult to overlook. So if you've been working harder and wondering why your career isn't moving with you, don't immediately assume you need to work even harder. Maybe you need to change what your hard work is producing and how clearly people can see it, because effort can get you noticed, but meaningful impact is what gives people a reason to remember you. And if you want to understand why some people get promoted while equally capable people stay stuck, the next question is even more revealing. Is it actually about talent, or is there a psychological reason certain people look more leadership ready than everyone else?